So we'll now turn to our witness. And let me say, Dr. Hamburg, I appreciate your being here. I want to welcome you. We have, as you know, 5-minute opening statements become part of the record, and then you may get some questions afterwards from members of the committee. So thank you, and if you'd begin.
Chairman Pallone and members of the subcommittee, I'm Dr. Margaret Hamburg, Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today to discuss the urgent need for reform of our nation's food safety system. I commend you, Chairman Waxman, Chairman Stupak, Chairman Emeritus Dingell, and other members of the committee and your staffs for your leadership and hard work in developing this draft legislation. The food safety bill under consideration represents significant reforms needed to modernize our food safety system. I am honored to have been chosen by President Obama to lead this great agency, and I am inspired by the President's personal commitment to improving food safety, including the progress being made by his Food Safety Working Group. The President has backed up his commitment with resources, proposing historic increases in funding for FDA's food safety efforts. I also appreciate the support of Secretary Kathleen Sebelius and the Department of Health and Human Services, and of Secretary Tom Vilsack and the U.S. Department of Agriculture for major progress on food safety. In addition, a coalition of consumer groups is fighting for improvements in the food safety system so that more families do not have to suffer tragic consequences from foodborne disease. Major sectors in the food industry also support and are advocating for fundamental change. But even with all this support and momentum, our efforts will fall short unless Congress modernizes food safety laws to deal with the challenges of the 21st century. That's why this hearing is so important. From the perspective of FDA, there are 3 key questions to ask about food safety legislation. First, does the legislation support a new system focused on prevention? Second, does the legislation provide FDA the legal tools necessary to match its existing and new food safety responsibilities? And third, does the legislation provide or anticipate resources for the agency to match its responsibilities? To comment on the discussion draft, let me address each of these issues in turn. For the first, does the legislation support a new food safety system focused on prevention? The draft legislation would indeed transform our nation's approach to food safety from responding to outbreaks to preventing them. It would do so by requiring and then holding companies accountable for understanding the risks to the food supply under their control and then implementing effective measures to prevent contamination. Does the legislation provide FDA the legal tools necessary to match its existing and new responsibilities? In a new food safety system, FDA has the fundamental responsibility of overseeing and verifying the implementation of preventive measures by hundreds of thousands of companies. The agency also retains the existing critical role of protecting the public during an outbreak. FDA needs new legal authorities to be able to succeed in these roles and protect the public health. This legislation would provide these critical tools. My written testimony provides several examples, but I'd like to highlight one of the most important new authorities now. Section 106 provides FDA with explicit authority to access food records during routine inspections, thereby addressing one of the most significant gaps in FDA's existing authority. The authority provided in this provision is essential to enable FDA to identify problems and require corrections before people become ill. It also enables the agency to verify during routine inspections that firms are maintaining proper distribution records. Records access and record keeping by all persons in the distribution chain are the key mechanisms of providing regulators with information on plant operations, product safety, and product distribution. Such information is necessary to verify compliance and to identify problems. Lastly, does the legislation provide or anticipate resources for the agency to match its existing and new responsibilities? The draft legislation makes an important investment in the resources needed for major progress. After all, FDA must have the resources necessary to meet its responsibilities. Otherwise, the public will not benefit from the promise of a modern food safety system, and the agency will fail to meet the expectations of the President, Congress, and the public. The bill authorizes 3 fees that are also requested in the President's fiscal year 2010 budget. One of these is in Section 101, which provides for a registration fee. This fee is of critical importance to enable the agency to improve and expand its food safety activities, including to increase its inspection coverage of the approximately 378,000 registered facilities and to enhance its other food safety activities. Section 105 proposes a rigorous inspection schedule for food facilities. These requirements start 18 months after the enactment. To meet these requirements, Section 105 allows the agency to use inspections conducted by inspectors from recognized state, local, other federal agencies, and foreign government officials. FDA would like to raise 3 issues about Section 105. First, the amount of resources required to achieve these inspection goals would far exceed even the historic increases in the President's fiscal year 2010 budget. Moreover, it would be difficult, if not impossible, for FDA to hire and train thousands of additional staff so quickly, even while relying on inspections by state, local, and other federal and foreign government officials. As a result, FDA encourages the committee to modify this section to take into account the operational and resource challenges involved. Second, as we develop a new food safety system, FDA will gain better information to guide the agency's approach to inspection and oversight. We will understand where we must inspect more frequently because of the high risk of certain foods, facilities, and processes, and understand where we can protect public health without conducting inspections as frequently. As a result, FDA would support flexibility to modify the inspection requirements based on the best available data on risk. Third, Section 105 could do more to provide flexibility to FDA in meeting the inspection challenge. The draft legislation allows the agency to rely on inspections by other federal agencies as well as by state, local, and foreign governments. An additional promising mechanism for international inspections is certification by accredited third parties. FDA would like the flexibility to explore the use of such an accreditation system and audit the performance of accredited third parties. With strong standards and robust oversight by FDA, this approach could help address the oversight challenge posed by the more than 220,000 registered foreign facilities exporting to the United States. This is a historic moment for food safety in the United States, a moment for FDA and its sister agencies in the federal government to rise to the challenge of the 21st century. Success means fewer hospitalizations and deaths, fewer devastating recalls, and greater health for the American people. The draft legislation is a major step in the right direction. I commend the committee for its leadership, and on behalf of the hundreds of dedicated staff devoted to food safety at FDA, I look forward to assisting with the legislative process. I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Hamburg.